The Intergalactic Military Academy was impressive by anyone's standards, floating in the perpetual twilight of the outer rim where three galactic systems met. Its spherical design allowed for zero-G training in the core and adjustable gravity rings rotating around the exterior. Beings from countless species hurried through corridors that smelled of ozone, lubricant, and the various atmospheric requirements of its diverse population. Commandant Drax, a skinther whose rocky exoskeleton scraped against doorways wherever he went, paused at the viewing portal overlooking the arrival bay. His respiratory equipment hissed as he watched the human shuttle dock. "This is the best Earth could send," he rumbled to his assistant, Lieutenant Kira, whose crystalline exoskeleton clicked as she moved. "One human, according to his file." "Yes, sir," Kira replied, manipulating the datapad with 3 of her 6 limbs. Aiden Carter, former Earth Special Forces, though the details are classified. Earth claims he's here to establish humanity's place in the galactic community. Drax's laugh sounded like grinding rocks. Special Forces? Of what? Cleaning their primitive dwellings. Humans barely made it past their own moon before we found them. The human in question emerged from the shuttle, looking surprisingly unremarkable. Medium height, standard bipedal physiology, wearing the basic cadet uniform that hung loose on his frame. He didn't even have the cybernetic enhancements some of the more practical species used. The Academy's AI, Echo 9, announced in its deliberately monotone voice, "Welcome, Cadet Carter. We hope you survive your orientation slightly longer than our statistical models predict." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "Pleasure's all mine." His quarters were in the standard gravity section, or so he thought. As soon as the doors sealed behind him, Aiden felt his muscles tense under an unexpected weight. He flexed experimentally. "Computer," he called out. "Yes, Cadet Carter." Echo 9 responded. "What's the gravitational setting in my quarters?" 2.0 Earth Standard, as requested by Commandant Drax for your enhanced training experience. Aiden rolled his shoulders, feeling the extra pull. "So they wanted to play?" Echo 9. "Yes. Make it 3 times Earth Standard." There was a pause that seemed almost shocked, if an AI could be shocked. "Cadet Carter, regulations state that." 3 times. Aiden's voice was calm but firm. The gravity shifted again. Equipment in his room settled with audible thuds. Aiden walked across the room, each step deliberate but steady. By the time morning came, the entire academy hummed with rumors. The human had not only survived the joke double gravity, but had requested triple. "Impossible," many said. "Suicide," others muttered. Aiden reported to the training grounds precisely on time. The vast chamber held obstacle courses designed for every physical configuration imaginable. Creatures that flew, slithered, crawled, and everything in between. "Ah, the human," Gorsh called out. The Doran stood nearly 3 meters tall, his 4 arms rippling with muscle that looked dense enough to deflect bullets. "I hear you like gravity." Other cadets gathered, a menagerie of the galaxy's finest warriors. There was Feli, a Volid who floated gracefully on biological gas sacks. Next to her stood Thrix, a serpentine Kalos whose scales shifted colors with emotion. Even the usually aloof Zenthran, beings of pure energy inhabiting mechanical shells, paused their calibrations to watch. "Morning, everyone," Aiden replied casually. Lieutenant Kira appeared, her crystalline clicks announcing her presence. "Today's exercise, a standard obstacle course run. Cadet Carter, since you seem so fond of enhanced gravity, we'll set the course to 2.5 times standard." Murmurs spread through the assembled cadets. This was practically execution disguised as training. 3.5, Aiden said simply. The murmurs stopped. Commander Drax, who had been observing from the elevated platform, leaned forward. "Did you say 3.5 times?" "Yes, sir." "Very well." There was something in Drax's voice that sounded almost eager. "Begin when ready." The obstacle course activated. Laser grids, moving platforms, walls that suddenly became floors, all designed to push even the most hardy species to their limits. Under 3.5 Earth gravity, Each move for a human would require superhuman effort. Aiden took a deep breath and started to run. Where others expected him to struggle immediately, he moved with calculated precision. His movements were economical, no wasted motion, each muscle working in harmony. When he reached the first obstacle, a vertical wall that required scaling, he didn't hesitate. Using his momentum, he ran up the wall far enough to catch a handhold, then pulled himself up with movements that spoke of extensive training. He's actually doing it, whispered Felly. The course continued. A section with spinning blades required perfect timing. Most species would use their natural advantages. Felly could float over, Thrix could squeeze through gaps, the Doran could simply power through with their robust physiology. Aiden analyzed the pattern, timed his movements, and flowed through the obstacles like water through rocks. At the balance section, designed primarily to challenge species with multiple limbs or unusual center of gravity, Aiden demonstrated remarkable body control. The platforms beneath his feet shifted and tilted unpredictably, but he adjusted his posture with each change, maintaining equilibrium that drew appreciative sound from some observers. The final section, a gravity maze where the pull randomly shifted directions, was where most expected him to fail. The constant reorientation of down could disorient even veteran cadets. But Aiden had something the others lacked: extensive training in disorientation exercises. He'd spent hundreds of hours in centrifuges, underwater balance training, and sensory deprivation chambers. His vestibular system responded to each shift, his body adjusting before his mind fully processed the change. He crossed the finish line, breathing heavily but still standing. The timer displayed a number that drew gasps from several species. 17 minutes, 32 seconds, Echo, 9 announced. This falls within the range of surprisingly not dead on the human survival probability scale. Drax descended from his observation post, each step reverberating through the training ground. Explain yourself, human. Aiden straightened, meeting the commandant's gaze. Sir, with respect, your intelligence briefing on humanity appears to be outdated. We've had substantial gravity training protocols since our space program's inception. Additionally, he paused, a slight smile forming. When your species first visited Earth, we had scientists studying tectonic plates, meteoroid impacts, and submarine pressure differentials. We've been preparing for this our whole evolutionary history. Adapting to survive in hostile environments is what we do. Lieutenant Kira's clicking intensified, the equivalent of nervous drumming. But the energy expenditure alone should have. Humans are persistence hunters, Aiden interrupted calmly. We evolved to outlast prey by sheer endurance. Our cooling system, muscular structure, and metabolic efficiency were shaped by millions of years of pursuit. High gravity running? It's just another hunt. The assembled cadets exchanged glances. Their whispers took on a different tone. The Doran, Gorsk, stepped forward. The human has surprised us. Drax's rocky features might not have been capable of expression, but his posture had changed. Tomorrow, we have simulated combat training. Cadet Carter will face Gorsk in the combat arena. We shall see if your endurance extends to surviving against a true warrior. The next day arrived with an anticipatory energy flowing through the academy. The combat arena was filled to capacity, an unusual occurrence for what should have been a routine training exercise. Word had spread about the human who defied gravitational expectations. The arena was a massive circular chamber capable of projecting any environment. Today it was set to simulate a hostile planet's surface, rough terrain, sudden elevation changes, and most notably, adjustable gravity fields that could shift without warning. Gorsk entered first, his 4 muscular arms flexing in preparation. Standing at nearly 3 meters, he was an imposing figure even among the varied species present. His people, the Dorans, were known as the backbone of many elite military units. Aiden entered to scattered laughter, still from those who hadn't witnessed his performance the previous day. He wore simple combat gear, looking almost comically small compared to his opponent. Combat parameters, Echo 9 announced. Standard arena rules apply. Competition ends at submission, incapacitation, or what we call the human is definitely dead threshold. Echo's attempts at dark humor were lost on no one. Drax himself would oversee the match. Combatants ready? Both nodded. Gravity will fluctuate between 1.5 and 3.5 standard. Environmental hazards active. Begin. Gorsk immediately charged, confident his bulk and four-armed advantage would overwhelm the smaller human. The ground shook under his powerful strides. But Aiden had already analyzed his opponent during the pre-fight briefing. He'd noticed Gorsk favored leading with his lower arms while using his upper arms for balance during movement. As the massive being reached him, Aiden dropped low and swept past, making Gorsk stumble, a feat none present had seen anyone achieve before. The gravity suddenly spiked to 2.5, forcing both combatants to adjust. While Gorsk grunted under the increased weight, Aiden seemed to flow with it, using the added force to accelerate his movements when appropriate. He's using the environment, Felly exclaimed. The human is treating the changing gravity as a tool, not a hindrance. Indeed, as the arena's gravity shifted unpredictably, Aiden demonstrated remarkable adaptability. When gravity decreased, he took longer strides, covering distance efficiently. When it increased, he lowered his center of mass, improving stability while making himself a smaller target. Gorsk, growing frustrated, attempted to use his superior reach. His four arms worked in complex patterns that would have overwhelmed most opponents. But Aiden's movements were precise, almost predictive. He wasn't trying to match strength with strength. He was finding the gaps in Gorsk's defenses. A sudden gravity spike to 3.5 caused both fighters to drop. This was the moment many expected to see the human crushed by his own weight. Instead, Aiden used the momentum to roll, coming up in a crouch while Gorsk struggled to regain his footing under the massive weight of his forearms. The arena fell silent as Aiden executed a move that would become legendary in Academy history. Using his lower center of gravity to his advantage, he swept Gorsk's legs at the moment gravity dropped to 1.5. The massive Doran, suddenly lighter, was launched into the air. When gravity spiked again, Gorsk crashed down with tremendous force. Gorsk attempted to rise, but his breathing was labored. The combination of exertion and rapid gravity changes had exhausted even his considerable stamina. Yield, Aiden asked, offering his hand not in mockery, but in genuine respect between warriors. Gorsk stared at the offered hand for a long moment. Then, for the first time any present had witnessed, the proud Doran warrior gripped it, not in handshake, but in the warrior's acknowledgement of defeat. I yield, Gorsk grumbled. You fight, not as others. You adapt. The arena erupted in various sounds of amazement from the diverse species present. Lieutenant Kira's crystalline parts chimed with something that might have been applause. Drax descended to the arena floor, his heavy steps echoing in a now-quiet chamber. He stood before Aiden, who maintained respectful attention despite his obvious fatigue. Your species assessment files are being updated, Drax announced formally. Then, more quietly, he added, perhaps they should be rewritten entirely. In the following weeks, Aiden's presence transformed the Academy in unexpected ways. His adaptive combat techniques became a subject of study. Other cadets, initially dismissive, now sought his training methodology. Even species with apparent physical advantages found value in his approach to environmental challenges. The human who was supposed to be a joke, a lesson in humility for lesser species, had instead become a bridge between different forms of strength. During a particularly intense training session where Aiden was teaching what he called flow state response to environmental changes, Gorsk approached. I have been thinking, the Doran said, about our combat. You did not win through strength alone. No, Aiden agreed, wiping sweat from his brow. Different species, different advantages. We all evolved to survive in our own ways. Gorsk nodded slowly. On Doran Prime, we have a saying, the strongest trees stand against the storm, but the reed bends and survives. I see now the humans. You are reeds with the strength of trees. This philosophical shift rippled through the academy. Training methods were reassessed. The rigid categorization of species as strong or weak began to give way to a more nuanced understanding of capability. Commander Drax called Aiden to his office several months later as graduation approached. The Skinther's chamber was sparse, befitting a military mind, with only a few decorations from various worlds. Cadet Carter, Drax began, then paused. No, that is insufficient. Warrior Carter. Aiden remained silent, sensing something important was coming. Your performance has exceeded every projection. More than that, you have changed how this academy thinks about potential. Drax pulled up holographic displays showing comparative data. Combat effectiveness, course completion times, adaptability scores. Across multiple parameters, you rank in the 95th percentile. I had excellent opponents to learn from, sir. Drax's breathing apparatus hissed, the equivalent of a laugh. Humble to the end. Here is our offer. Remain at the academy as an instructor. Your methods have proven valuable, especially for interspecies combat and adaptation training. Aiden considered this. Sir, may I ask something? Proceed. Why the intensity? The double gravity joke, the impossible obstacle course, matching me against your best fighter. Drax's massive form shifted slightly. When a new species joins the Galactic Union, they are often tested. Some tests are official, written in our protocols. Others, he gestured with one massive hand. Others are traditions. Cultural hazing, as you might call it. The weak are weeded out. The strong, however, earn respect. Aiden finished. Indeed, we expected to humor Earth's delegation by letting you fail spectacularly. Instead, you have given many species reason to reconsider their assumptions. About humans, yes, but also about the nature of strength itself. Aiden straightened. Then I accept, sir. On one condition. Drax's respirator wheezed another laugh. You dare conditions? I want to develop a cross-species training program. No more human exercises or Dorn techniques. A truly integrated system that recognizes and utilizes each species' strengths while addressing their weaknesses. Drax was silent for a long moment. Ambitious. The logistics alone. I've already drafted a preliminary proposal, sir. Lieutenant Kira has reviewed it, as has Dr. Vin T. from Xenobiology. Aiden produced a datapad. With proper implementation, we could increase overall combat effectiveness by an estimated 27% while reducing training injuries by nearly 40%. Taking the datapad, Drax examined it carefully. When he looked up, there was something new in his posture. Not just respect, but something close to admiration. You planned this entire stay, didn't you? The gravity request, the combat choices, all calculated to make this exact point. Not exactly, sir. Aiden allowed himself a small smile. I came prepared to prove humans belonged here. I didn't expect to suggest we all might belong together more effectively. 6 months later, the transformation was evident throughout the academy. Training grounds buzzed with mixed species teams. Cadets who once mocked each other's limitations now compared adaptation techniques. The Death World Survivor, as Aiden was sometimes called, with a mix of amusement and respect, had become the Academy's most requested instructor. On the day of his official assignment as Senior Instructor of Adaptive Combat Systems, representatives from Earth arrived for the ceremony. Among them was Ambassador Williams, the woman who had helped secure Aiden's placement. You've exceeded all expectations, she told him privately. Earth's standing in the Galactic Union has already improved dramatically. You've proven humans are far more than they thought. With respect, Ambassador, I've proven that most species are more than they think. They just needed permission to look beyond their preconceptions. The ceremony was held in the main assembly hall, with representatives from 47 different species in attendance. When Commandant Drax called Aiden forward, the assembled cadets snapped to attention in 30 different traditional postures. The Academy recognizes that true strength lies not in raw power alone, but in the wisdom to adapt, the courage to change, and the respect to learn from others, Drax announced. Senior Instructor Carter embodies these principles. As the various species celebrated in their own ways, sonic emissions, luminescent displays, harmonic resonance. Gorsk approached Aiden. Your gravity chamber, the massive warrior said. I've been training there myself. And I managed 2 Earth gravities for an hour before submitting. Gorsk's 4 arms spread in what might have been a shrug. Perhaps I too can be a read with tree strength. Aiden clasped one of Gorsk's massive hands. Brother, at the rate you're adapting, you'll be asking me for triple gravity too. Their laughter drew others over, and soon a group formed. Doran, Valid, Kalos, Human, and more, sharing stories of adaptation and growth. The Academy's AI, Echo 9, observed silently. Echo, Aiden addressed the system. What are my survival probabilities now? Given current performance metrics and adaptation rates across all Academy participants, I calculate a 98.7% probability of survival for human cadets, compared to the previous estimate of 6.4%. Quite an improvement. Indeed. Though I should note, Echo added in its carefully monotone voice, the maintenance costs for gravity chambers have increased by 312% due to excessive triple gravity requests. Financial accounting blames you specifically. The group erupted in interspecies laughter, a sound that echoed through corridors designed for dozens of different atmospheric compositions, where beings from across the galaxy learned that strength came in many forms, and that adaptation was the greatest survival trait of all. In years to come, the Academy's curriculum would spread to other training facilities throughout the Galactic Union. The Carter Protocol became standard practice for integrating new species into military frameworks. But in those halls, in those days, Aiden Carter was simply the human who asked for triple gravity and changed everything that came after. And somewhere in Earth's archives, a simple notation appeared in Aiden's file. Exceeded expectations through adaptation. Recommend further humans for galactic service. What followed was simple but profound. Humans, update status from potential liability to valuable asset. The human trainee who'd taken their joke and made it a strength had proven that in space, as on Earth, the most powerful force wasn't raw strength or advanced technology, but the will to adapt, survive, and unite what had seemed forever divided. The stars belonged to all of them now, and Earth had earned its place among them, one adjusted gravity at a time.